Who knew I would make it this far? They hated, they never believed me. Yeah, I would never drop the ball. I know I make it look easy. Yeah. Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic got to say. I got them picking up the pieces. I'm the new era about to snap back. You ain't fitting for it cause you all cap like. Hold up, I shoot my shot, wait, hold up. I'm really about to run this go up. You know it's all net when it go up. Ain't got no other plans, you don't need to understand. Ay, we on overtime, you don't need to understand. Ay, you just show them how to do it when you don't know what to say. Tell me how you plan to win if you plan to play the same. Moving fast, already gone, yeah, but you bringing me back. Try to double cross me, dog, just let me relax. Stop assuming what we doing. Keep it moving, what we doing. Cause it can get bigger. Please don't play no games with me, I promise I'm too much. Ay, I can never let up even if you had enough. Ay, this ain't for the faint of heart, we always playing rough. I had enough, it ain't luck. I needed a vision, I needed ambition, I needed a mission to beat a submission with no intermission. I see the collision, the crash in the distance ain't coming off track, no. Now when they ask what's the motive, don't talk like the show 'em. They all about to see what I mean in the moment. I gotta keep going, I'm shaking the dice and I'm keeping it rolling, they already know. Ain't got no other plans, you don't need to understand. Ay, we on overtime, you don't need to understand. Ay, you just show them how to do it when you don't know what to say. Tell me how you plan to win if you plan to play the song. Moving fast, already gone, but you bringing me back. Try to double cross me, dog, just let me relax. Stop assuming what we doing. Keep it moving, what we doing. Cause it can get bigger. Cause it can get bigger. Cause it can get bigger.
Salute. Good morning. Well, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is. Salute to everybody in the building for sure, man. One more time. We running a little bit late this morning, but we in the building for sure, man. It is 150% fight week. Biggest fight of the year, biggest fight card of the year. Maybe not the biggest fight of the year, right? Because you got Terrence Crawford, Canelo Alvarez that happened earlier this year, but definitely the biggest fight card at a minimum. We don't know if it's going to be the biggest fight yet. We'll see. Hindsight will give us that information, right? But biggest fight card of the year. We're finally here. We've been talking about building about this fight card for months now. A lot of social media by Brian Norman Sr., a lot of content creators covering the space, a lot of different angles, and I think it's split damn near 50-50. People who believe Brian Norman Jr. is going to knock out Devin Haney, other people who feel like Devin Haney's experience is going to level the whole entire playing field and just completely pull Brian Norman Jr. out of his comfort zone, pull him into the deep waters, places he's never been, and he's not going to be able to acclimate to this environment, to this big stage where Devin Haney's lived for the past however many years. We got a lot to talk about, man. Today, we're really just going to probably dial in more so into the David Benavidez, Anthony Yarde fight a little bit. No predictions yet. Don't drive me crazy today asking for the predictions, but we're definitely going to get into it, right? We're going to dive deep into it because Brian Norman Jr. and Devin Haney's pretty much been completely taking over this fight card. I mean, you would think they were the main event, right? Not too many people are talking about David Benavidez and Anthony Yarde as much as I think they're supposed to, because in all reality, this fight may be the most and has a probable chance of being the most exciting fight on the card, right? Like, we may be more interested and intrigued and curious about the results of the Devin Haney Brian Norman Jr. fight, but I would say that David Benavidez Anthony Yarde has the elements of being a shootout. A fight that goes down and competes with fight of the year candidate right next to the Lester Martinez versus Christian Mbili fights, the Conor Benn, Chris Eubank 1 fight, right? These fights are going to, at the end of the year, put themselves in a conversation of fight of the year. And we're going to talk about that today for sure. And we're going to talk a little bit also about Sam Noakes and Abdullah Mason, another fight that could steal. Any of these fights on the card could really steal the show. But this fight right here is going to be a very interesting fight. Abdullah Mason, somebody who some might feel have been fast-tracked into the position that he's in. And look, but fast-track the correct way, right? Activity, a lot of activity. I think from a year and a half ago, Abdullah Mason's fought damn near 8 times, right? I mean, he's really been active, maybe even more than 8 times. And Top Rank clearly had a path for Abdullah Mason. The stars lined up. Keyshawn Davis lost his belt on the scales, and Abdullah Mason found himself ranked high enough in the WBO rankings, right behind Sam Noakes, where it looks like this is the big show for him. He's worked hard to get here at this moment in Riyadh season on the big stage. He gets an opportunity to become a champion, but has Abdullah Mason gotten enough rounds in? Has he got enough experience in? This is a big leap from his last opponent, from Abdullah Mason's last opponent to Sam Noakes, a fighter who on record, I don't believe has lost not even a round of boxing on the judges' scorecards, right? On the scorecards that have been recorded, I don't know that Sam Noakes has even lost a round. Needless to say, an undefeated lightweight fighter who has power in both hands and who's determined to stop you, has a high knockout ratio. This fight right here, stylistically, wow. You know what I mean? Wow. And we're going to dive deeper into that fight. We're going to talk about Abdullah Mason and what he's going to have to look like in this fight and what to expect from Sam Noakes. And both fighters looking like they're in great condition. Today was the grand arrivals. We'll talk about that as well. David Benavidez spoke to the space. And listen, David Benavidez is on a mission, clearly on a mission, ever since he coordinated and put his foot down and made that fight between him and David Morrell. He's been taking control of his career. He's been moving the needle for himself. He's putting himself in position where it needs to be. He made a power move and came out to Riyadh season after, advised by his team not to make that move, that they wanted to keep him fighting in America, and he broke away from the PBC for a minute. I mean, he's still part of the PBC, but ultimately, he got permission from the PBC, you can say, right? That's what he said, at least, right? And he moved forward with his career, and he's making the steps, right? He's strategically moving, and he's not waiting for nobody. This is a new David Benavidez who's not waiting for the Mauricio Suleimans to give him an opportunity. He's not waiting for the Canelo Alvarez's to give him an opportunity. He's forcing the play. He's moving the needle himself, and he's going to find greatness one way or the other. And we're here as fans to watch him do it, right? For sure, right? So we'll dive into that a little bit as well, and we'll touch into some other things lightweight, but then we'll talk about Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul, of course, announcing that they're fighting. I'm hearing their press conference is supposed to be Friday, potentially, a press conference for December 19th, fast replacement for the Gervonta Tank Davis Jake Paul fight that didn't happen. Jake Paul was on a mission to find himself a dance partner, being that he had a whole card behind him. Netflix was betting on him. Who was Jake Paul going to find? Rumors were circulating of the Edgar Berlangas, of the Ryan Garcias, right? Of Francis Ngannou, right? Nate Diaz came back up in the conversation, and ultimately it was looking kind of dim and dark for Jake Paul at that moment, being that the Gervonta Tank Davis fight just completely fell apart, right? Just completely fell apart. Rumors circulated about Anthony Joshua. A lot of people just didn't believe this would happen, as the narrative is around Jake Paul that he's cherry picking and strategically picking his fights, and even rumors and accusations of fights being scripted. I don't think a lot of people expected it to happen. But look, it doesn't matter what you expected anymore at this point, because the reality is it's happening. We'll talk about that, dive into that. We'll speak on Jake Paul going into this fight. We'll speak on Anthony Joshua going into this fight. We'll speak on the weight regulations, the 10-ounce gloves, just the whole entire structure built around this fight happening. And we'll see how the space feels about that. And then, and then we'll be out, right? We're in and out like a robbery, you know what I'm saying? Salute to everybody who is in the building here, flexing, stepping in the building. What up, Clay? What up to you, flexing, stepping? Crypto Chris in the building. Salute to Crypto Chris. What's good with you, man? Woo in the building says, hey, Clay. Hey, what's good with you? YG Knight in the building. Salute. YG Knight, what's good with you, fam? Tone Def in the building saying, let's go with boxing and analysis that makes you want to watch boxing, not reject it. I love it, Tone. I love it, Tone, for sure, for sure. And of course, my Aki in the building, Fly Frequency, hit me with the salams, walaikum salam, Ak, and we're going to get it in. But last and not least, of course, we have to bring in, you know what I mean, the usual suspect here. My guy, Ray Davis in the building. Salute to Ray Davis, man. What's good?
What up? What up? What up?
Chilling. You got the hat to the left. You got the hat to the
Listen,
right.
I'm trying to figure out which way we want to do it. Do I want to show the 6 rings? You know what I mean? It's championship week right here, bro.
Yeah, listen, this is a big week, man. We've been waiting for this one, right?
I'm like, yo, do I want to show the 6 rings? You know what I mean? Do I want to just rock? You know what I mean?
Yeah, bro. We've been pushing back and forth, pulling and pushing and pause. I don't know if it needs to be a pause, but we've been trying to figure this thing out. Good matchmaking on this card, right? Great matchmaking, a lot of close to 50-50 fights. When people think about it, some people may not believe like the Abdullah Mason Sam Noakes is close to a 50-50, or understand that the Devin Haney Brian Norman Jr. is a 50-50. Or listen, even David Benavidez and Anthony Yarde, although not necessarily 50-50, is still a fight with a lot of exciting intangibles that can change the way those fights go because of what Anthony Yarde brings to the table. Whenever you're dealing with two fighters like David Benavidez and Anthony Yarde that are willing to punch it out in the middle of the ring, that don't want to go backwards and have the power, right? That have the power to change the game. Well, I mean, Anthony Yarde has the power. David Benavidez has the output, the volume. You know what I mean? He has the determination, the will. He knows how to push that pace. He has a pace on him. So that fight right there, personally, and we're going to talk about it, right? That fight right there can take the whole show. Maybe the fight of the night. Let's be honest. As much as we're focused on Devin Haney and Brian Norman Jr., I think people are understating or underspeaking or under pushing or promoting the reality of that fight. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, yes and no, right? We're seeing it because here in the United States, we only know one thing, right? We only know we don't really rock with the people across the pond like that. Not us, but you know what I mean.
As a country, as a
crowd of
demographic,
American boxing fans,
right?
Knowing who Yarde is, we know Yarde was only on ESPN a couple of times fighting our good boy Dmitry Bivol, and I think Kovalev. I think
no, Artur Beterbiev and Kovalev.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for the correction. And Kovalev, right? He fought. So we only know him for those 2 fights. A lot of people don't know him outside of that. You know what I mean? He made his comeback. He had a great couple of fights. Good fighter. Strong and balanced fighter. Does have a power punch. Lacks a little bit more conditioning. I would say, carrying the weight with the muscles. The muscles are good, but they're also bad. Though they're there for snap reaction, they can also weigh you down and make you tired because your blood has to keep circulating those muscles, and the oxygen kind of depletes yourself, filling those muscles up to keep them going, and you kind of lose your wind. But other than that, man, listen, Benavidez, we seen him get rocked, we seen him get pushed back, we seen him. You know what I mean? He had to box the stronger fighters. We seen him change his game and other things too. So let's not look at it as experience versus experience here. It's definitely.
I think on both sides there's experience arguments, right?
Right.
There's the experience of David Benavidez for what he's done, right? I don't think this is not a David Benavidez versus David Morrell fight, right? Where David Morrell's coming into the ring, the guy who's passing the eye test, but hasn't had the experience with the right opponents for us to really put him on the same level as David Benavidez. There's an argument here probably to say that Anthony Yarde is just as experienced, if not more experienced than David Benavidez, being that he is the light heavyweight that's been there, the career light heavyweight. He's fought Artur Beterbiev, he took a loss. He fought Kovalev, took a loss, but still the experience is a part of the conversation of him as a boxer and who he actually is. Because on one way of looking at it is he lost, but on the other way is 24 super valuable rounds that he was able to come back from and be able to be a better fighter because of it, right?
Correct. That's where I was going with, bro. I'm glad you put it out there because that's where I was going with it. But Yeah, exactly to what you said. And then we look at it on the other side of the street. You know what I mean? With the championship caliber, the development, the skill set, the passion of a David Benavidez. He's looking to fight the best. I mean, you heard him in his presser, how he just said all the things like, you know what I mean? He wants the best. He wants to fight Joe Bataille eventually. You know what I mean? Like, he definitely is chasing his dreams. And this is just another bump in the road to him. Where I feel at the other time, this is a time, it's a proven a moment to prove. I'm trying to think of the right way of saying it, but you know what I mean, for Anthony Yardy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he has something to prove that he's not just a guy that just gets the championship fights and fails. Like, you know what I mean? He just wins all these other fights, but the opportunities. He's trying to make this opportunity work for him. Whereas in Benavidez's case, he's looking for it to, like, look, man, this is a stepping stone. This is a guy that's a real legitimate opponent, and I need to show the world who I am. So, I mean, there's a lot to be said in this story, and I think this is a great fight that people are overlooking because of that, the sense of that, especially globally. I think it's big. You know,
yeah. I'm gonna be real with you, Ray. It's like, that's a great thing about this new era of boxing that's rolling out, right? This new era of boxing in comparison to the old era of boxing, where you went into most fights knowing who's going to win. Like, this guy's going to win. I mean, Vegas understood it. Everybody understood who's going to win going into the fight. A lot of times the conversation was like, how is he going to win? And even you'd look past opponents and be trying to already figure out the next opponent for a guy, right? You'd be like, all right, man, I hope after he does this, because you didn't even question it. But with this matchmaking going on and these type of cards in particular, the way the formula that Riyahd seasons rolled out as far as the best fighting the best and ushering that in to this new era of boxing, it challenges the casual fan who is who lived in the know, right? Mm-hmm. The fan that lived in the know and already knew what was going to happen, being used to just calling it very easily. And even the betting odds in Vegas have had to probably really put their thinking hats and deal with this matchmaking to figure out how we're going to put these odds together and how we're going to work these betting lines, because this is real stylistic good matchmaking, and it's not just easy to call it like that. It's more like we got to be right. So let's start watching videos. Let's start watching fight videos. I was going to say, I know there's a better word for it, but let's start watching the tape. Let's start watching the tape on these fighters, and stylistically, let's start clashing these styles and try to figure out who's going to win at the end of the day. And I also love what you said about the story. The story makes the fight. You know what I mean? The story is important in this situation because both these fighters are at a crossroads in their career. There's an argument to say they're at a crossroad, whereas David Benavidez is in a crossroads to be like, listen, he's completely 100% left the Canelo Alvarez conversation in the past at this point. He's not on. Nobody should be confused anymore. This is not about Canelo Alvarez as what people used to think about whenever they heard about David Benavidez, right? It was always like him trying to get to Canelo. Now it's him trying to build his legacy, and he's willing to do it by any means necessary. This right here being one of the fights he's planning on doing. Obviously looking forward to potentially fighting a winner between a Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev, or just go straight to Dmitry Bivol, being that he's the one who's holding 3 of the belts he needs to become an undisputed champion. But at the same time, if that doesn't work out for him, what is he going to do? He's going to move on to the cruiserweight division, right? He's talking about fighting Zurdo Ramirez to become a unified champion up there, fighting Jai Opetaia. Let's become undisputed in the cruiserweight division. Let's not hold up our career for anybody. We're going to be active, and we're going to make sure these fights count. And of course, Anthony Yardy on a very similar trajectory, because like somebody might have said in the chat before, this may very well be his last opportunity at doing something significant with his career. After this fight right here may make the difference in between him moving forward and continue to try to become a unified champion, or where does he go from here? Because he's got to be a high risk, low reward fighter. A puncher like that, you don't get in the ring with unless you have to, unless there's a big payday behind it, right?
Thanks.
Right. So that's going to be interesting, man. And Anthony Yardy bringing that experience, bringing that power. And I agree with you. I think the conditioning is going to be a big deal in this fight. His ability, because he has to know no matter what, when David Benavidez is going to bring that pace. He's going to bring that pace to the fight, and he's going to test it. And David Benavidez is becoming a more cerebral fighter now in the light heavyweight division. Would you agree or not agree? Being that he can't just steamroll people. He has to really strategically break down his opponents, right?
He's in his size category, right? Well, as they would say, like he's matching against his peers. So, and I'm glad we're going to talk about that. Excuse me. I'm glad we're going to talk about that this whole card, because I think a lot of people are now matched with peers and likewise fighters. They're in the divisions they should be in, as they're fighting, and it's a lot on these cards that we talk about this, Clay. It's not just, the co-main and the main. I mean, you're talking everything from, an experienced Sam Noakes to Abdullah Mason, which we're going to get into. So it's a lot to be said. A champion versus champion, and Martinez versus Bam Rodriguez. So
right,
it's a lot to be said when I say that,
if there is a fight on that card that may be like, that's probably the most I'm sure of result on the card is Bam and Puma, right? And I'm only
this,
no, I know. I'm saying every one of these fights hold it, but when you think about all of them, right? Like Anthony Yardy could beat David Benavidez. It can happen. He can clip him. Devin Haney, Brian Norman is 50-50. I mean, it just depends on the stars aligning for both these guys for that fight to go the way it needs to go. Sam Noakes and Abdullah Mason has its intangibles, right? But when you look at Bam Rodriguez, it's kind of like people ready to see Bam make a move, right? So after this fight right here, depending on how it looks, however you want to look at it, after this fight, I think people are looking for Bam Rodriguez to really move on with his career in a significant way. They want him to go get a signature fight. They want him to go get the big fights, the Nakatanis, the Monster Inoues, move up in weight, challenge himself. That's what they want to see Bam Rodriguez do. So this fight right here is going to be competitive because Puma's not anybody to play with. You know what I mean? This is a serious fight for Bam Rodriguez. But if there is a fight on the card, which, the whole card is stacked. But if there is a fight on the card that's clear winner, you would expect it to probably be this fight. No?
I agree.
Right?
I agree. This is probably the one you can push through and say, look, I know this guy's going to win. Though it's no cakewalk. A lot of people are thinking it's a cakewalk. Puma,
right. Well, I think it's like Bam is supposed to win this.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
Exactly. Right. And when you look at Puma, a lot of people, I mean, in comparisons to me, I get that whole Margarita vibe with him. You know what I mean? Like that crazy, like antic type fighter, strong, going in there to win. It can play into your mind if things aren't going his way to try to get you thrown off your game. You know what I mean? Almost a B-hop. You know what I mean? I'm gonna throw a cheap shot, not get caught behind, while the ref is over there. I'm gonna do something. Yeah. So don't be surprised if we see a frustration come out of Bam Rodriguez this fight if he doesn't get the fight going the way he wants. So it's a lot of things that could be said here. I love it.
Yeah, for sure. And a card like this, when they talk about an upset, what's an upset, right? Like, I mean, I would say, if Anthony Yarde were to knock out David Benavidez, I think that would be an upset, right? For all intent, even though if he's going to win, or even though we understand that it's very possible, because who Anthony Yarde is, that would be the upset, right? There's a part of me that kind of feels like Devin Haney getting knocked out maybe looked at as or regarded as an upset by people, right? Just because it's as much as people want to criticize Devin Haney and say that he's not the fighter he was before, and people calling for Brian Norman to do it, I still feel like him actually getting stopped in real time for the first time in his career would be a shocking feeling for the boxing space. But at the end of the day, we really know as boxing pundits in the space who really are watching boxing that wouldn't be an upset. That would just be a loss, right? And same thing with, I would say, if Sam Noakes were to stop Abdullah Mason, that'd be a little bit of a, I think I would balance that between us upset and disappointment, right? Like, it's an upset, not really, because Sam Noakes is a more experienced fighter. I just told the whole space on the judges' scoring cards, I don't know that Sam Noakes has lost a round yet. A round hasn't been scored against Sam Noakes, right? So, and he's been in 12 rounders, right? He's been in 12 rounders. So, it shouldn't be an upset. But I think when you look at Abdullah Mason, he brings that eye test appeal, right? Where you just feel like this guy could just naturally be one of the best fighters in the boxing space, in a future pound for pound superstar. You love his attitude. We love how articulate he is. We love the way he carries himself. And he's a clear, great representation of what this new era of boxing looks like it's going to be looking at. You talk about Abdullah Mason, you talk about Xander Zayas, you talk about Shushu Carrington, right? Even David Benavidez. Did you get an opportunity by any chance to see the David Benavidez and Anthony Yardy face off when they were sitting in front of each other?
Face off. No, I actually
Okay,
I stopped watching the Well, actually, I don't even think they did the face off. You talking about the
no. They call it the face off. I'm talking about the conversation on the table.
The one.
The
No,
table
I've seen clips of it. I did not see it. But
right.
there's a respect
but
there.
A lot of respect. And David Benavidez said something significant in that meeting, and it's what I'm here to push, right? What I love. I feel like boxing is it could be considered somewhat of a savage sport because of the realities of the unfortunate, inconvenient truth of what's really happening when you rip away all the layers. At the end of the day, two men or women are going in the ring to punch each other and stop each other by any means necessary inside a structure of rules, of course, but still, death is a potential part of the ultimate outcome, right? Or the consequences of what it is. So there's some savagery in there, but outside of that, there's also this gentleman sportsmanship aspect of the sport that I think has been kind of like pushed away for a couple of years now, right? Where everybody's talking about each other's mothers and kids and life and calling each other bums and trashing each other and middle finger this and cussing and just using all kind of foul language. But there's this other part of the sport that doesn't, in my opinion, take away from the sport, but if anything, empowers the sport, which is that sportsmanship, that respect between two guys who know, listen. And that's what happens when the matchmaking is correct, right? Where David Benavidez is looking at Anthony Yardy saying, look, bro, we're going to try to win by any means necessary and do what we got to do on that night. But yeah, bro, mad respect to this guy. And there's no, he's soft, he's not. No, bro, it doesn't take away. We all know when you don't need all the fluff and all the nonsense, right? It's like I say, like a bag of piff, right? I don't need to do all that because once you crack the bag open, you know what it is. You know how we carrying it. We're not playing no games. I don't got to sit here and tell you where it was from, what line it is, the THC levels, and yes, bust that open. You're going to put your face in that bag and you're going to say, I want that or I don't want that. And that's what this card is about. Right. This card is about the fights sell themselves, right? The fight definitely sells themselves. So, going into this fight with Abdul, because we kind of talked about the David Benavidez, Anthony Yardy, but we can dive a little deeper into it. We talked about the conditioning of Anthony Yardy being part of it, but what about David Benavidez? The way he used to fight at 168, right? Fighting against the Caleb Plants and the Bubu Andrades and these fights that he was involved with, and even against David Morrell at 175 and Bosnick. What's the difference going against Anthony Yardy, and what adjustment do you picture David Benavidez having to make to really make sure he walks away with this win?
Fighting off the back foot. He used to do it a lot. I think he does it to wear his opponents down. He doesn't really utilize that jab a lot, right?
Are you saying that David Benavidez has to be ready to go backwards in this fight?
Yeah. He has to keep. I think the adjustment is to be the guy leading with the jab, but moving backwards to try to lead Yardy into something, a false sense of security. I think the adjustment is
wait, right? Let's stay on this backfoot thing for a minute here. Let's just entertain for a minute. First of all, two things. Number one, do you believe David Benavidez is going to concede to that? Do you believe he would actually submit to that and go backwards?
When you know the risk, yes. I think every boxer, if you're a smart boxer, you feel your opponent's strengths and weaknesses, right?
Intelligence,
right?
Mm-hmm.
You trying to fight somebody that that can hook you at any time, catch you with something you don't see coming, or hurt you with a body shot because you're standing there in the pocket. You don't want to sit there and let that happen, right? So what you have to do, you have to move. Not necessarily you have to be lateral. I mean, turning your opponents is good, but sometimes it's taking a step back. You know what I mean? Using your lethal weapons, which is your range, your length, your jab, in a sense, to keep them at bay, to measure them up for big shots, to calculate timing. All those things are important when you're fighting somebody like Anthony Yardy or somebody that can be dangerous coming forward. And at the same time, coming forward can be dangerous, but it also creates risk for that opponent that you're facing, because the fact that they're coming forward will lead you into the point of them thinking that they're moving you forward, they're moving you, and they get overly aggressive, and they forget their fundamentals. Bam, you walk into something that you don't see coming, and now I got the upper hand. Now I can apply pressure. Now I can do the things that I want to do. And as you regroup, I back up again. Now you're frustrated, and you're going to come in here wild now, and you're not even on your game plan anymore. There's a lot of things. I'm telling you, intelligence plays a big part in boxing, bro.
So no, 100%. I'm not. Listen, I'm right here with you on the practical logic of what you're saying, right? Like I get it, like applied in a practical way that makes complete sense. But there's also the mindset and the fighting style of a fighter that has to be taken into consideration.
Right.
And David Benavidez' fighting style and who he's always been, and it'll be the first time I feel like I've seen him conceding. And I'm going to use that word because I feel like if David Benavidez is going backwards in this fight, he's doing that against his will. That's not what he would ideally like to happen. So that being said, if he's stubborn, if he stays on his front foot, if he's determined not to go backwards, and he makes his whole entire mission to push and rage against the machine, against the power, against the strength of an Anthony Yarde, then this fight becomes a lot more closer to a 50-50 or contested fight than what it would be if David Benavidez were to, what you're telling me pretty much is use an IQ, bring his pedigree into his boxing, you know what I'm saying, acumen to the space to be able to make a, learn when to hold them, learn when to fold them type of mentality. So let's go the other way with it then and say David Benavidez doesn't work off of his back foot, makes it all about his front foot. Well, how does a fight look at that point to you?
It won't look like Beterbiev in Yarde. I can tell you that much right there, because I think I don't think he has enough power in those shots to force a Yarde to not come forward and try to be aggressive in the pocket and smother the abomination of flurries that comes from David Benavidez. I think that puts David Benavidez in a thinking process of, okay, this guy's not feeling, because obviously they're going to feel the punches, but this guy's hell bent on getting inside. He's willing to come in here and make this fight happen. And I think if that happens, you're going to see either him push harder to try to force him back, or he's going to have to go to that corner, regroup, and come up with a game plan on what he has to do. Where's the weaknesses that he's seeing in this pressure? I think with David Morrell, prime example is when we seen the pressure applied to David Benavidez after Morrell decided to box, which took him 6 rounds to realize that he was in a boxing match. You know what I mean? And he started moving forward accordingly and at a safe distance of David Benavidez. And he started getting inside. David Benavidez did retreat a little bit, and it made the fight more interesting. When he was applying pressure to David Morrell, it was from the jab. He did stand tall. He did stay firm. And he knew he had a little bit of the reach advantage, and it made Morrell think a little bit like, yo, I can get inside. Frustration happened. He forced him to try to force himself inside. Didn't happen. Had to regroup into a boxing state. So I think we'll get that same similar situation if that is the case. I think if it can end up bad for David Benavidez, but it can also be what he needs. You know what I mean? Going against the grain, going against what everybody would critically think that would be a bad decision. And it could turn out to be something good. We don't know. He can punch in between the shots, to say the least, as he's coming forward and just stand his ground. But I think that's a dangerous spot for him to be in. You know what I mean? Because you're not just catching hooks and overhand rights from Anthony Yarde. You're catching body shots, bro. You're catching stuff that's going to be brutal, and if you stand there to take it, it's going to hurt you more than help you. So, I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this fight has those. It's one of those fights where there's the easiest way for David Benavidez to win this fight, but then there's the way that he wants to win the fight, which doesn't necessarily always align with easy for him. He's sometimes he's the kind of fighter who rubs me as hell bent on staying true to a brand, right? To who he actually is, and pride comes before the fall, right? So this is one of those fights where David Benavidez's approach can make the difference in between whether or not he wins this fight and moves on and just becomes somebody whose legacy is becoming a champion and collecting belts, or he works on just being a fighter that the fans can get behind, and he might align that with blood and guts, right? Overpowering, being the monster. But he's in the ring right now with somebody who's legitimately he's ready to contest the monster theory. Like, I don't really believe in monsters, right? Like Anthony Yardy's like, I don't believe in fairy tales. I have no problem sleeping with the nights off at night. I'm not one of those guys, bro. You know what I'm saying? We can close the closet, open the closet. It don't matter to me. I don't believe in monsters. You're going to have to convince me. And, you know, I'm going to punch my way through any of these urban legends that I've been hearing about. And you're going to have to show me by weathering what I put on Better BF, even though he beat me, but what sat him on his pockets. That's going to be interesting. We'll watch how that plays out, because I think that's going to play a big factor in this. And what you said, you know, basically what I'm hearing from you is here's a strategy for the win.
Right.
I just don't know if that's the strategy David Benavidez is going to play with. I'm be real with you. I don't know if he's thinking the way you're thinking as far as choosing to go that way. I'm sure he knows he can move in the way you just said, but what is he going to choose to do? And that's what it's about in these fights, right? And when we talk later this week on Thursday, when we talk about or Friday, when we talk about Haney and Norman, that's what it's going to come down to in that fight too as well. It's about, especially when it comes to Haney, because the intangible in that fight is Haney's mental space, where he's at, because that mental space is going to determine what he chooses to do, which is the right thing, which is where he's strong at. Box, stay on the outside, not over engage, just, you know, win this fight round by round. And if he happens to be able to walk Brian Norman into something, that's what's up. Or does he choose the other route? Because we saw him play a different role when he fought against Ryan Garcia, right? And he completely, you know what I mean, got exposed to a certain degree fighting that way. So choices and decisions are going to make a big are going to play a huge role in how this fight looks between David Benavidez and Anthony Yardy. Let's go ahead and move on to Abdullah Mason and Sam Noakes on this one. This fight right here, stylistically, is a great fight as well. Both fighters come forward fighters, love to fight. Both of them bring a boxing acumen to it. Sam Noakes brings a little bit of experience over Abdullah Mason. He's been in the 12-rounder fights. He's gone the full 12 rounds. Not only has he been in 12-round fights on paper, but he's actually legitimately went through 12 rounds. I stated earlier, I don't know a judge has taken away a round from him or, you know, picked against him in a round. And what that means to me is he's not just a puncher, right? That's the important thing about Sam Noakes. He's not just a puncher. However you want to look at Sam Noakes knows how to win. He's a winner. He's a boxer, puncher. I did notice after doing some tape study on him that, in my opinion, I think he kind of keeps his head on the line a little too long at times. And I think that's because once he smells the blood in the water, he becomes a little bit more susceptible to getting hit because he goes in for the kill. And that looks a certain way for him. But he's also, in my opinion, watching him fight, very meticulous and patient. So he doesn't go off until he feels like he has you like that. Before he gets you there, he's actually pretty patient and poised and very calculated of a boxer. Now, Abdullah Mason on the other side of the conversation has shown us that he can push the gas, and he pushes the gas. He tends to push the gas early in the fights, but he looks like he tried to pull back a little bit on his last fight with Nakatilia, right? He tried to pull back a little bit on the gas and be a little bit more patient ever since, of course, we saw him get sat on his pockets. I can't remember the name of the guy. Johan Vasquez, right? Right?
Yeah,
I think it's
Vasquez. He had two last names. I was trying to think of the other one, but yeah, Vasquez.
Yeah. So in that situation right there, that was a big eye opener for him. A big light bulb popped up over his head. And, you know, Abdullah spoke to a little bit and said, you know, they asked him what he learned from that fight. And he said, you know, the reality is he's he knows how to box. He's traditionally trained to be a boxer. He's a good boxer, but you get caught up in your habits, right? And sometimes you get a little too excited. And he said sometimes it takes the experience to let you know to slow down and go back to the fundamentals. Yep. So going against a puncher and a boxer like Sam Noakes, you got to think Abdullah Mason and his team are going to go in this fight with a lot of caution. But at the same time, always leave the party, right? Who took you to the dance? And how did Abdullah Mason get here? And will he bring that same energy that got him here to fight in this fight? Decisions. Where are you at in this fight right now?
I love this fight. This fight is exactly what we look for in boxing. You have the strategist versus the athlete. I think you have an intelligent athlete versus a calculated strategist, a chess player. And that creates a lot of gamemanship, because though they're both games, are two different sports. One is about, how do I make the right move? How do I corner you? How do I beat you? How do I make you make mistakes? And the other is, I'm going to force you in mistakes. I'm going to move the way I want to move. I'm going to generate something that's going to push you through my what I feel that you lack that I have, and that's my athleticism. This is a great combination of what I want to say a boxing war is. And I hate to use that word, but I'm going to say raw just to say it backwards. You know what I mean? Because I don't know how that word tends to be on the internet. But we're going to say, you know what I mean? This is a boxing raw, bro. And I think that we get the best of the best when it comes to those strategies, those particular styles. And I think I've never taken nothing away from an athletic fighter, especially one that's quick, fast, shows poise at times, mentally sharp, looking to put themselves in a position of calculating, bro, like scoring, right?
Right.
Where you have another fighter that's like, listen, I'm all about calculations, bro. I'm all about measuring the accolades in this room. I'm all about your footsteps, how many times you step forward, how many times you move left, how many times you throw from your right when you're pivoting this way. I'm on that, and I'm studying that. And I'm going to force you to move somewhere you don't want to move and checkmate. So I like the fact that this is a stalemate right here. This is really what you want in boxing. This is something that you don't see coming, right? I seen and shout out to Kai Fly. He's like, we bugging about the 50-50 situation. I'm good with that, bro. I listen.
But I agree. I saw him say that too, right? Ray? And it's like, I get what he's saying. Right. I get what he's saying, because it's not 50-50 necessarily, but it's super competitive fights. And unless the fighters approach with the right game plan, it does become 50-50. Like, we just talking about the David Benavidez and Anthony Yarde fight, right? Like, most people think that David Benavidez is supposed to be Anthony Yarde, but here you go. You've presented something that was very interesting, and I thought that made a lot of sense, and that would make David Benavidez get a higher probability of winning the fight. But he may legitimately choose to fight this fight on an even playing field. Right. He may choose to play Anthony Yarde's game, and that in turn brings it close to a 50-50 fight. Because of that, you go in his arena, you go into that man's backyard and do what that man does best and try to best him in what he does, then the fight becomes competitive.
Right.
You box him and you take him out of his comfort zone and you attack him where he's been exposed to be weaker at when he fought the big fights. Then you take away a lot from him, and now it becomes, whatever it's supposed to be. But the same thing with this Abdullah Mason and Sam Noakes fight, right? There's a way for Abdullah Mason with his abilities to take away a lot from Sam Noakes, right? And potentially just make it look easier rather than harder. But then there's Abdullah Mason. There's who he is in his heart. He's going to be fighting that animal the same way we saw Conor Benn have to fight that animal against Chris Eubank and just stay behind the jab and take his time and be the boxer, versus the first fight where he was we know him to be, which is emotional and going for it and explosive and trying to end it. And we saw how that fight ended for him in that one. So yeah, man, I get it. Not 50-50 in an ideal situation where everybody's doing what they're supposed to do, but we got to balance it out between what they're supposed to do and the inconvenient truth of what they're gonna do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's what makes the fight interesting. Right?
Shout out to Turkey Out Sheep for putting these fights together, man, because this is what matchmaking should be. This is what it should be, Clay. Like,
Yeah, no doubt.
you can clearly see a winner, you can clearly pick a winner, but you know what? That line of underdog is so close to the 50-50 line. You know what I mean? As you just mentioned, it's so close to moving the
Yeah.
needle that you like, damn, like at any time. Yo.
Yeah, what you can do versus what you do always makes a difference
Exactly.
in what happens.
Exactly.
Right, and that's life, right? That's just life, right? Like you could have did this, but what did you actually do, and what was the result you got? You know what I mean? It's not about what you're capable of
Right.
all the time. The capable is the beginning. That's the foundation to it. Let's find out what he's capable of doing. That lets you know what you can build on. But the decision making, that's the knowledge versus the wisdom, right? That's the sword versus wielding the sword, right? Like you got a great sword on your hip in your sheath. It's sharp, it's heavy, it can break through things, cut through things easier. Probably one of the best swords in the game. But the guy wielding the sword now, the wisdom on how to apply the pressure, well, you can get somebody else with a sword that's not as celebrated and not as well made as your sword, but his ability to move and use that sword and use his athleticism can end up leaving you dead.
Right.
Laid next to an expensive, quote unquote, better sword. Right.
Exactly.
Right?
You know what I mean? And that's where it comes down to, man. It's like you don't know what's going to transpire. You know what I mean? You can figure it out, but like you just said, you know what I mean? Like you get in that arena and you thinking it's all good, and you go in there and now you looking stupid. Now you got to face adversity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the end of the day. And you're like, damn, and everybody sitting there, yo, this guy good. Yo, I ain't see this coming. No, we're telling you there's a strong possibility this is coming. Like, expect the unexpected with these fights, bro. Like, this is not your Campbell soup commercial, man. I hate to say it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's about the challenges, man.
Yes.
And these fighters have a spirit about them, and they have ambition about them, and they have ways that they want to win and ways they want to do things. And sometimes we sideline coach fighters into situations where we're speaking for them and we don't know what they actually want to do and how they want to fight. Fighters are well-rounded, you know what I mean? They can do multiple different things. They can attack things in multiple different ways, but the question is, what are they going to bring to the table that night? And that's going to determine a lot how the fight's going to end up looking, right? It is what it is. But I think with Abdullah Mason and Sam Noakes is bringing it full circle back to where it needs to be. Abdullah Mason, how and what does he need to do going into this fight, in your opinion, to really take this away from Sam Noakes and become the next, and not only the next, but the youngest actual active world champion in the world right now? What is it that he needs to do?
So this is what we need to put into his head and his thought process, right? Which I already believe he fights this way. Patience. Don't look for the knockout. Be patient. No looping right hands. He loves the looping right hand. He loves it. You know what I mean? He likes coming around with that hook and try to put you in something that he feels he can stop you with. It'll be there if it's going to be there. You're quick enough and fast enough, athletic enough to land that shot at will. But be patient and wait for it. Don't try to force it. I think that's the key for Abdullah Mason. It's just the patience. Footwork's good. I think, like I said, it's a stalemate. They're both standing in the center of the ring. He can fight in the pocket, Abdullah Mason. He can fight on the outside. He is pretty much square defense. He sees the opponent's punches coming. So good eye, keen eye for his defense. So I think patience is the key. Don't just try to force that button to be popped with your right hook or your left straight. You know what I mean? Just sit and wait. It's going to be there if it needs to be there. And one more thing, Abdullah Mason has to be prepared to go to 12 rounds mentally. He has to be prepared. He hasn't did a 12 round. I think he did one 12-round fight.
No, Abdullah Mason has zero
so
12-round
fights. Okay, so he has 2 10-round fights and a bunch of 8 rounds.
And he hasn't never gone the distance.
Right. That's exactly. So shortcomings can turn into bad results in a long run. And I think here, if he has to be mentally prepared to go these 12s, he should be sparring 14-round fights. He should be doing a 14-round sparring sessions. He should be just, working on 14 rounds just to get his conditioning to that point, just in case. Because when the going gets tough and you have to climb that mountain, you want to make sure you reach the top of that mountain. You don't want to give up halfway and be mentally defeated. And I think that's where it comes down to Abdullah Mason is, does he have that that second gear after.
Yeah. I agree. I don't think it's me personally, Ray. I'm gonna be real with you. I don't think his conditioning is something that I'm gonna question. It looks like Abdullah Mason lives a very clean life, and and you know, he looks like he's in great condition.
But is he getting punched on?
Think,
you know, is he getting punched on?
Well, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? We'll see in the fight,
different.
right? But I mean, there's no. What is he doing? Going to sit there and let somebody punch on him for 12 rounds? I don't know, right? But I'll say this: the art of winning. Sam Noakes understands how to win. If you pay attention, he operates well the same way Dimitri Bivol kind of brings that intangible that Dimitri Bivol understood going against Artur Beterbiev, that okay, I need to make sure I win these rounds. What does that mean? Make sure I look good in the beginning and make sure I look good at the end. I can do whatever I'm going to do in the middle, but recognize where you are in the fight. And Abdullah Mason doesn't have that experience yet because he's never really, well, we don't know that he's ever, okay, I would say consider the scorecard.
Yes.
As you're fighting. Keep that in mind, because if you don't stop this guy, 3 judges are going to decide your fate. So what are the judges looking for, and are you delivering it on that level when you get in the ring? He has to manage these rounds one round at a time, and he needs to win rounds. He needs to be focused on doing that. Win the round, right? Don't even think about the stoppage. If it's going to come, it's going to come. You need to win the rounds. You need to be concerned with that, because this guy knows how to do that. Sam Noakes knows how to win the round. You may look decent in the round, but if you allow Sam Noakes to do it, he will steal rounds from Abdullah Mason in this fight. And before you know it, it'll be an 8-4 situation. It'll be a decision, and Abdullah Mason will be on the wrong side of the decision, because he doesn't have the experience to understand that the scorecards count. And I'll give you a fight to reference to kind of put that into perspective. Think about Gary Antoine Russell versus Alberto Puello is the fight I would bring up, right?
Word is bond. I was thinking that same
right
fight.
So Gary Antoine Russell was trying to stop Alberto Puello the whole time, right? And what was Alberto Puello doing? He was winning the beginning of these rounds. He was boxing, but he made sure in those last 30 seconds or 45 seconds of each one of those rounds, he had his moments that swayed the judges enough to be like, that's a round for him. Towards the end, as it got closer and closer to the final round, a fighter like Gary Antoine Russell, who had 100% knockout ratio going into that fight, didn't even consider those judges doing what they did to him, and they took away his O, right? So Abdullah Mason has to be conscious and aware of what's going on round by round in this fight, because he has to be ready to deal with 3 judges deciding his fate. On top of that, he has to punch tight. I love what you said about the wide punches. Do not get caught up with looping shots with this guy. Sam Noakes is a tight puncher. He keeps his punches pretty tight to his body, so therefore he's touching the point of contact quick. He knows how to take advantage of somebody who wants to get wide on him. He can work on the inside and produce a lot of powers in small spaces. He understands how to do that. Now, another thing that we have to that I want him to pay attention to is Sam Noakes, from what I can tell, doesn't move his head off the line that much. So straight punching for Abdullah Mason is going to play a role in this one. His head will beat straight punches, straight rights, that jab, obviously, right? Make sure that you're winning the jab game, but punch straight and definitely attack that body. Definitely attack that body, invest in that body, because I think that will pay out dividends, just like any fighter, I would say. But in this case scenario with a Sam Noakes, that's going to give him the opportunity to take advantage of some things down if the fight ends up in the 7th, 8th round area. From the 7th round up, we'll see that body work start to pay out its dividends in the second half of this fight.
Right.
So all those different things, manage the rounds, and this is where it becomes scary, because I question if he understands or even knows how to do that, being that he's never had to do that. Whereas Sam Noakes clearly not losing a round in his career yet, he knows how to win rounds, right? He understands how to do that outside of a stoppage. He knows how to walk away with victories, and Abdullah Mason has to be aware of that.
Everything I mentioned, calculated, chess player. You know what I mean? Like he's there. He's there. and you have to that's what I said, mentally, Abdullah Mason has to be ready to go the 12 rounds. He has to be there mentally. And I'm pretty sure every fighter is to a degree, but he hasn't done it because he's, when you are who you are,
Well, hold on one second, not to
Oh,
cut you off,
yeah,
but I forgot to do
yeah,
this. CJ Rich,
yeah.
just salute to CJ Rich for the $5. We appreciate the call in the chat, man. Thank you. I appreciate you a lot, man. It says put the gumbo in the pot and keep cooking 100%. Shout out to the people who just stepped into the building as well. We've got about 40 somewhat people inside the building. Take a moment and hit that like button, ladies and gentlemen, while you're in the building. Really helps the channel. Please go ahead and do that. Thank you in advance. And obviously, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you go ahead and do that. Walaikum salam to my Aki Fly Frequency in the building. Blaze pound for pound in the building. Salute to you. Salute Kai Fly in the building. Nick J. Salute Queen. How you doing, Queen? Salute to Nick J in the building, man. And my guy Ryan Frazier. I was up on Ryan Frazier's show last night, man. Building with him. As I was working that third shift driving, and that was fun, man. Kept me good and entertained as I was driving. Salute to everybody in the building. My bad, brother.
No,
Go ahead.
I'm laughing. It's cool. Mm-hmm. But no, I was just saying that's where the cerebral. This is where the mind comes to play. This is where it's not just about the athleticism. It's not just about the skill sets. It's about, like I said, this is a lot of adversity in this fight. If Abdullah Mason's too fast for Sam Noakes, does he know how to slow him down? You know what I mean? If Sam Noakes is too cerebral for Abdullah Mason, does he know how to, set the adversity and figure out what he has to do to move to a different, vantage point? The adjustments are going to be made in this fight. You're going to see it round and round and round. We're going to see a great fight. You're going to see. Abdullah Mason has acknowledged this himself. You know what I mean? Like he said, like this is, y'all might not know who this guy is. This is a good fighter. This is somebody that.
And that's another interesting thing, right? Like Abdullah Mason has acknowledged that, and that it's like there's so many ways to look at that, right? Like it's so intelligent of him, you're giving him the respect for Abdullah Mason proving interview after interview how mature and intelligent he is, 21. Right? At 21 years old, he just really brings that to the table. But at the same exact time, there's this other part of the game, which is Abdullah Mason has been successful being a certain way. So it's almost like resetting the clock on him a little bit, because now we need to see if the new version of him, is this a better version of Abdullah Mason, or does this potentially take away from Abdullah Mason from who we know? Because who we know him to be is that fighter who doesn't play with his food, whose quote is he has an appetite for smoke, right? This is who he is and who he's been in the fight game. And here we are saying that, okay, we need him to potentially dial back a little bit on that appetite for a smoke and become more cerebral, box more, and still we're looking for him to still have a certain level of the appetite for smoke to where he can still deliver the exciting, explosive fighting that he delivers, that product that he delivers to us that we've become used to and we know him to be as a fighter. But he's going to have to figure all of that, it feels like, in the biggest fight of his life. Like he hasn't had an opportunity to properly showcase these things with other fights. And I think that's another a part of this, is that it's like it's either going to work or it's not going to work for him, right? And if it's not working for him, is he better off just going back to who he was, to who he is, to stay true to that and overwhelm Sam Noakes and fight Sam Noakes, maybe even concede a little bit to, you know what, I'm not that guy yet, but I need to win this fight, so let me go back to what works and what makes sense. I think a lot of fighters go through that, right? We've seen Andy Cruz make those decisions. We're asking, to a degree, you're asking David Benavidez to make that decision in this fight a little bit. You're saying, yes, you're the come forward guy. You're the monster. You're this guy who always overwhelms people with the pressure and the pace you put on these fighters. But in this case scenario, pushing it against an Anthony Yarde may be your undoing. May derail you, because this is one of the biggest, if not the absolute biggest puncher you ever been in the ring with, and we want you to acknowledge the intangibles in this fight to keep your undefeated record.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I just want to say, listen, shout out to Big Sarge, man. I'm not really trying to dabble and get back and forth with people, but I just want to say, listen, I 100% agree with you. I 100% agree with you, but I also want you to understand that, you know what I mean, there's no guarantee in this fight, and I think that's where we're laying all our eggs in one basket without understanding who the opponent is. Do we even know who Sam Noakes is? Do we even understand what Sam Noakes is capable of? We're trying to enlighten you and give you the education on this fight. Abdullah Mason knows who he is. That's the difference. He knows who Sam Noakes is. He's did his studies. He's did his videos and watched for certain things he can relate for in the ring, and probably when he was sparring, had people do certain things to mimic timing and things of that nature. Abdullah Mason is a great fighter. Timing is going to be of the essence. Like I said, patience is the way for him in this fight. But if you believe that for any moment that Abdullah Mason's fighting style that he has fought thus far is going to beat somebody like Sam Noakes, I have bad news for you. That is very questionable because Sam, as Clay said, doesn't lose rounds.
He understands. He understands how to manage. Right. And I don't think people understand what that means, right? Like when we say a fighter has been in there for 12 rounds, what we're saying is he knows what it is. He's showing you that 1 second, put on this light, my bad. He's showing you that he is ready to win on all cylinders, that the stoppage isn't necessary for him to win. He doesn't put all of his eggs in the stoppage. In other words, he doesn't give up rounds or give up. Yeah, he doesn't give up rounds in the spirit of getting a knockout. If that makes any sense to the fans in the space who can wrap their mind around the idea of a fighter who's willing to risk a lot because they don't even plan on seeing the judges. They plan on knocking this guy out. And then before you know, with the right kind of fighters like a Dimitri Bivol, for example, you know what I mean? You'll end up in front of the judges. And all those moments that you gave up, all those rounds you gave up thinking that you were setting up for something bigger, when it doesn't come, you will pay for it with the judges. You will lose a fight. You will be down on the cards. Right. You know what I mean? Right. You will. You know, it's kind of like with Gervonta Tank Davis. Not, you know, and you people hate when we bring him up, right? But Tank, you know, has been known to give up rounds, right? Just to process data and set you up for the kill shot, right? But everybody always says if he gets in the ring with a Shakur Stevens, or he gets in the ring with me, maybe even a Teofimo, right? And you get behind on the cards with these guys, you're not guaranteed to stop these guys. So you can, going in front of the judge, I could see it being a scary thing for Gervonta Tank Davis. He may think like that, right? Like, damn, bro, I don't want to go in front of the judges because the way I fight, judges don't necessarily play
to my favor in certain
give me all the rounds, always play to my favor, right? So Abdullah Mason has to understand that going into this fight, that you've always been able to get the stoppage. Deontay Wilder, probably another example. He's an extreme, but another example, right? Of somebody who does not want to go in front of judges. He's stopping people. He's like, bro, I ain't worried about no judges. I don't got to win every round. I just got to win one moment and we're done. Well, that's not the case, obviously, when he gets in front of a Tyson Fury, right? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It got complicated. If that guy isn't just going to be there to get stopped, then what about the judges? So Abdullah Mason has to be aware of that in this fight, man. With fighting a fighter who's undefeated, just like him, who has the power, who has a good knockout ratio, just like him, but also has been the full 12 rounds and hasn't lost a round on any judge's scorecard in his career, in his professional career. That guy understands how to win rounds, bro. I agree. And you can end up on the opposite side of a decision if you don't carry yourself right in this fight.
Ryan Frazier, I totally agree with you, right? He probably has not faced anybody like Abdullah Mason with the athleticism, but
100%.
But he also is a well-rounded boxer. Again, people put game plans together. Sometimes people follow game plans well. Some people have the intelligence to let people fall for the trap. And he seems like he's a very cerebral, calculated fighter. And calculations do have their benefits.
And listen, Ray, I think what I'm trying to get across is that he thinks about
Right.
this. That's what's important to understand. It's on the forefront of his mind. He's thinking about winning rounds. Right. He understands that. Like, it's not by accident. It's not because it's not about easy or hard. It's like my brother here is saying, it's strategy. Yep. He's legitimately like, I'm winning every round. He's fighting his fights one round at a time. And if it ends up in the 12th round, he's winning the fight.
Exactly.
It's an interesting psychology, right? And the thing about it is, Abdullah Mason may also be thinking about that, maybe, but we just don't know, right? We don't know if he's thinking about that, and we're going to find out on Saturday if that's how he carries himself. But it's an intangible because we haven't seen it tried or tested inside of the ring.
Exactly,
and that's important.
Exactly. There's a message to you that was addressed. I don't know if you want to handle that one. That's cool. I'm with it.
What, Big Sarge? What? Are you crazy? As long as you've been watching me, do you mean that or are you trolling me, bro? Are you crazy? Are you out your rabbit mind? Are you playing with me right now, bro?
Yo, I knew it was coming. I just had to let you do it.
He trolling me. Yo. I ain't even mad all the way, but I'm kind of mad, low-key. Yo. What are you talking about? Of course I'm a fan of the boxer. I love the boxer. I think I'm the one who told y'all that's why Terrence is going to be Canelo. It's not about the KO fight and the boxer, but listen, man, I'm trying to highlight the clash and the contrast in between the both and the difference in that gets either one of them to the victory and the understanding and the mentality of a boxer who wants to take points, who's going to take rounds, and the fighter or the KO fighter who doesn't think about it the same, but ends up in the 12-round fight. Right. What happens to the KO fighter who he says he plays like the KO fighter, but I think everybody likes a KO fighter boxer. Everybody likes a good knockout, and everybody, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I guess there's a balance. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe he's saying it in the right way. I'm just reading it wrong.
I must have read it wrong too, because I literally
messages you were reacting. When you're reading, sometimes you're reading text messages. It's hard to figure it out.
Yeah, that was.
See, Big Sar says he's a boxer puncher. Like I get it, right? No, I'm a big fan of Shakur Stevenson. I'm a huge fan of Shakur Stevenson. He's clearly the boxer, right? I'm a fan of the boxer, man. I mean, Floyd Mayweather was a boxer, right? Especially Money Mayweather, right? Was a boxer, and I was a fan of him. So, listen, man, I can appreciate the sweet science. I not only can I do appreciate it. It's not like I can when I always appreciate the sweet science. But when we're breaking down these kind of fights here, these intangibles make the big difference, especially in this fight here with Abdullah Mason and Sam Noakes, because with Abdullah Mason, we just don't know Abdullah. He's still young, man. There's an argument there to say that he's still a prospect in some ways. Right? Although he's about to fight for a championship and he's a contender, clearly about to fight for a championship, I think most pundits in this space still look at Abdullah Mason like that he's still got baby milk on his breath a little bit. Like, you know what I'm saying? He's still so young. He hasn't shown us the full artillery yet. We haven't seen it,
man.
We haven't seen it. So it's kind of like, I love the high school. It's like the high school player going to the NBA. It's like, damn, bro, that dude was shining in high school. He was doing his thing, dunking on dudes, crossing dudes, scoring 30+ points a game, however many assists. He was that guy to the point to where an NBA team recruited him. So clearly he earned it, right? A NBA coach and Scott was like, yo, that dude don't need to go to college. We want him up in here, but I don't care. He still has a period of transition of dealing with grown men who are experienced in a whole different way, and he has to be able to adapt quickly. You know what I mean? And in this case scenario, he's going to the championship. Think about it. Think about, Kobe Bryant being recruited from high school and going into a championship his first year, how that must have been for him. And think about him starting and how crazy, you know what I'm trying to say? That would have been for him. Like, no, bro, he had the season to get through with his teammates and experience that moment through a whole season of basketball. Could you imagine if he got recruited out of high school 3 weeks outside of the NBA finals? You know what I'm trying to
Right.
say? And he had to play in that game against the best in the world. It would probably be a different situation. Now, I'm not saying he would do good or bad, but what I'm saying is, as a fan of the sport, you'd have to be looking like, damn, bro, I don't know if he's going to be able to. It has to be reality.
The questions there. That's why they got question marks, right? They have to come into
no,
play.
not Big Sarge. By the way, Big Sarge, my guy, bro. That's why I said I ain't even mad because I know you for a minute, so I know you.
Yeah, no, I know. It was just funny.
But it was just like, what? I'm not a fan of
that was hilarious. He put it all on you.
I'm like, I love boxers, bro. What are you talking about, bro? But I understood. I started to understand it as I was reading it over and over again, and I said, you know what? Maybe he's saying, because you're right. I do appreciate the knockout fighter, the puncher boxer. I like the combination. That's the more ideal situation and the best kind of fighter that I like to watch fight. 100%. There's no doubt about it. But I do know and I do appreciate the legitimate boxer like Xander Zayas. Yep. I love watching Xander Zayas fight, and he ain't stopping nobody no time soon. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Well, we don't see it happen. If he fights, I think one of the best fights that could be made in the super welterweight division right now is Xander Zayas versus Jaron Boots Ennis. It's not going to get talked about right now because Virgil Ortiz and Jaron is a fight that everybody wants to see. But I think the clash of Xander Zayas, his great boxing, is going to play a big role in forcing Jaron Boots Ennis to jump into his bag and find Xander Zayas. You know, he dropped the ball and the opportunity to do that a little bit against Karen Kukudadjian, right? Like that was a fight where he could have showcased that, but he didn't. He actually got frustrated and didn't really, you know, he just was chasing that dude around the ring, right? And then at some point even got upset with that. But Xander will be his opportunity at redemption, at true redemption. That fight. But anyway,
I got you. I love boxing. But no, I mean, to everything being said, man, I think like what we think is going to happen and really know it's going to happen are two different things, right? But we're only putting a game plan out there. We're only just trying to put the thought in your head that these fights are meaningful for both fighters, for all fighters on this card. They're great fights. And because they're matched up the way they are, we can believe or think or speculate whatever we want. But at the end of the day, these guys are going to get in the ring. And if you know what styles do in boxing, it's either going to be what we thought it was, or it's going to be something totally that we didn't think it was, and we're going to have to see the adversity. We're going to have to see the outcome and the victory that
we're going to have to see it play out, right, Ray? Exactly. Like we're going to have to see it play out. But I'll tell you this though, it's one way or the other, and we're giving you both ways.
Exactly.
So quote us correctly, right? As we go into these fights, the day after the fight, understand that we gave you the different shades of gray, right? We gave you all the different angles that going into this fight, we're looking at the fight, right? So it's either boop bop, or it's bop bop bop, right? Like it's one of a few ways, and then there's the unknowns, right? There's the non-unknowns. There's the way that it can go that none of us even expected it to go, right? That we could be here the next day like, yo, I thought it could have been this way. Now I never thought about this way, right? Like for example, if we see Anthony Yardy outbox David Benavidez. You know what I'm saying?
Off the back,
it's gonna be like, yeah, so I didn't see that coming, bro. That turned out to be crazy. That's another thing we have to add to Anthony Yardy's resume. So going into his next fight, not only does he punch, not only is he powerful, but the motherfucker boxing. Right. That's interesting. You know what I'm saying? We may look at Anthony Yardy as the best light heavyweight in the game.
At that point, right?
At that point, right? If he would have outboxed David Benavidez, I think there'd be an argument. We'd sit here and be like, yo, Anthony Yardy's the best light heavyweight in the world, bro, outside of Dimitri Bivol, which, you know what I mean? Like, if he outboxes David Benavidez, Lord have mercy. Lord child, right?
Yeah,
it is what it is.
I agree with you, but I also think that it's not so much as Sam Noakes having to get Mason and not getting Mason into rhythm. I think Mason has to be patient with Sam Noakes, because Sam Noakes is out to do that. That is his goal, to keep him off balance. I totally agree with you. And I think Mason has to be patient with the outcome. Like the shot, like I said, the shot selection will be there, but he has to measure those moments. I think he's the faster puncher, right? I think he's the guy that can fight from different angles. I think he can get in there and land the big shots when needed. But at the same time, when you got a quality sound boxer that's going to that's probably already aware of these things and what's coming and where not to put his gloves, and you know what I mean, when he's on his foot, how he's going to move. you have to understand that Noakes is going to force Mason to do these things. He's not going to allow to do those things. And that's what we're saying.
And how about this? If he puts Mason into a situation to where Mason is far enough behind on the cards, he's also going to put Mason into a desperate
situation
moment. He may understand that, right? So a Mason who may be trying to be poised and patient can find out in the round 7 that if he loses one more round, this fight is over with, or he needs a knockdown or a knockout to win this fight. And how does he deal with that mental pressure? Because the poise may just legitimately go out the window at that point, and he may have to turn it up, and that might be exactly what a predetermined by design move of Sam Noakes to put him in that position, to walk him into a point to where he helps himself. He helps, Sam Noakes, like, great. Now he's coming forward. Now I get to pop off, be explosive with my power, punch while he's punching, punch straighter than him, tap into his emotions, and boom. Now we got Sports Center meme moments happening in boxing, right? It's just so many different ways to look at this fight. So yeah, patience from Abdullah Mason. But I'll say the 2 most important things for me personally is straight punching.
Oh yeah,
straight punching.
Looping. He can't be doing that looping right.
Don't do it. Straight punching. And I say that because Sam Noakes doesn't move his head off the line like that. That's one thing I noticed about him. He's not a slipping shot. He's not like that good at it. He's actually there to be hit for the most part. If you're quick enough, and I think straight punches will make you quick enough. You know what I'm saying? That you'll be able to get him. And number 2, he punches inside of a tight little box. He's good at that. He's not a wide puncher. So if you get to windmilling shots at him or getting too wide, he can punch while you're punching, and he'll hit you before you hit him.
Yep.
He knows how to do that well. So yeah, no wide punching, straight punching for him. And of course, I put that as one thing. Those 2 things I just said as one thing. And I think the second thing is manage those rounds, win rounds. And win rounds. And how do we win rounds? We win rounds by getting judges to say we won rounds.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? That's a big difference. There's a science to it. Understand what I'm saying, right? We get judges to give us rounds. We don't win rounds. When you look at Conor Benn and Chris Eubank, the first fight, if you look at the aftermath and you never watched the fight, you would say Conor Benn won that fight.
Right.
Because Chris Eubank's head was looking like this. You know what I'm saying? But what did the judges say at the end of that fight?
You know what's crazy? Another outcome that we could be looking at, which is diabolical. If this ends up in a draw, bro, it's a championship fight. Like somebody has to win this fight. So you don't want to leave it, like you said, to the judges where, okay, you look great for 6 rounds.
That's a great question, Ryan Frazier. I'm not too sure. To be honest with you. I don't know. But Mason hasn't gone full 12 rounds.
He lost to Vasquez.
Well, the round he got knocked down in, right? But I'm saying, has he been ever outpointed? Has he ever been outboxed before, and lost around that way? Probably not.
I don't think so.
Probably not. But at the same time, that's a very loaded question to a certain degree, because when you're talking to somebody who's probably averaging 2 to 3 rounds a fight,
averaging 3 rounds.
It's kind of hard to kind of really get a gauge of. You know what I mean? When we're talking about doing multiple 12-round fights, that's more of an accurate assessment of somebody's ability to win rounds, right? To being tested and let's be real, more than likely Sam Noakes' opponents have been boxers, not punchers like him. So he's had to win those rounds, you feel me, against people who are not available to get knocked out.
Exactly.
Who have been able to use their footwork and move, and he can't stop them. But he's still able to get every single round according to a judge. So it is what it is.
Exactly.
It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So let's go ahead into the next one, because we're going to wrap this up sooner than later, because I do have to, I got to go to work. I won't even sugarcoat it, right? Good. I want to speak on Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul. This announcement coming out, I want to say yesterday morning, gets announced across the board. the internet went crazy, right? As it was a rumor last week happening, and we were all talking about it last week, but we made sure when we talked about it, we talked about something that wasn't officially announced, and we were just saying what if. Well, we're past the what if moment. It's not a what if moment. This is the fight that we have to look forward to. I'll just be raw with it and just ask you straight up, how do you feel about this announcement? And usually when Jake Paul makes an announcement for a fight, I think as boxing fans, we look at it and go, oh, is this the same feeling for this one?
No, because it was expected. Like I said, this is something that a lot of people really don't understand. I'll be brief. That this fight was supposed to happen already. Obviously, it fell through for whatever reasons, and also not to mention that the fight that he took, I thought was not only a shame on Jake Paul with Gervonta Davis, but the issue was, and I think a lot of people in the space are confused on why people didn't like the fight, is because it was a money grab for Gervonta rather than a real fight, and just the difference in that category was disgusting. So when we see this fight, which is a closer, more, it's 30 pounds, 40 pounds, whatever the difference is between them, they're still going to be in the realm of heavyweight, and there's no weight limit in heavyweight, so it is what it is. The thing is, you're putting yourself in a position which he can really get hurt, he can really get injured. And I'm talking about the announcement, Clay. I am getting there, by the way. You really put yourself in a position to now sell tickets, which you weren't doing. Get Netflix to buy into you, right? Because now you done had them put on this card that not only bombed once, but bombed twice, where you had to move it out of another state to another. Now we're having something of significance. Now we have a former world champion, another heavyweight champion, getting into the ring with the YouTube star. And the way that is announced, kind of like low key, but it was off the tail. I mean, most fights are off the back end of a big fight or a fight that's on the weekend because you don't want to take away from that fight. It's perfect timing. I mean, it's right before the fight, in between big fights, but it's right in between. It's right off the tail end of the Eubanks and Conor Ben fight, which is great, going into the week of the David Benavidez Yardy fight with Devin Haney and
it was perfect timing. It was like right
that's what I'm saying. It's perfect timing to put it there, right?
Yeah.
So
right on the back end of Conor Ben, Chris Eubank,
right,
and right on the fight week of
Norman and Yardy Benavidez, right? So perfect. So basically, what you're doing is you're not taking away from anything, but you're actually just adding to it, and it only makes it better because of the names that are involved. So I think it was great timing. I think it was amazingly planned and well pushed. Yes, it wasn't a lot of news, and you're not going to hear about it till we get to next week. After this week, you'll start hearing about it more, and it'll start building up as it should be. You'll probably get a press conference at the end of this week, or maybe midweek after the.
I think Friday.
You'll probably get a press conference soon. At the end of the week, just so that you're not walking into the big fight that's happening. You don't hurt that fight in any way. You're not going to hurt it anyway. You know what I mean? You're not taking away from your fight. So you actually put yourself in a great position.
Yeah. I mean, me personally, I don't necessarily, I think it's good timing. I think it's good timing. I think it's the way to do it. I think Jake Paul's back was against the wall, you know what I'm saying, with this one. I think the boxing gods or the universe has put Jake Paul in a very interesting position, where the boxing space was applying pressure to Jake Paul to go ahead and fight somebody that it made make sense, somebody in his weight class, a contender. We was asking him for the bare minimum, to be honest with you. We weren't asking him to fight no damn Anthony Joshua, right? But we didn't want him to continue to fool the public by cherry picking or picking stylistically, picking fights to where the table wasn't balanced correctly, right? To where it was like he was always, the one with the leverage in it and moving inside of his A-side privilege, being the biggest payday for any of the fighters that were going to jump in the ring with him. Gervonta Tank Davis, dropping the ball on this one, putting him in a position to where they threw him into a position to where him and Netflix were looking at each other face to face, like, what's going to happen now? Because Netflix gone ahead and locked this spot up in Miami, went out the way to spending a lot of money between negotiating to find a spot in Georgia, announcing it there, it not happening because the athletic commission in Georgia wouldn't allow it to happen, going to Florida, securing that venue, making that happen. Gervonta Tank Davis is who you told us is who you wanted to gamble on. He doesn't participate in the promotion of the fight. He's not an easy person to work with. And, let's cap it off with now he's in trouble with another DV situation when he has a history of DV situation. So you went ahead and gambled, and now the whole fight's gone. And how does our relationship look like from here? And finding an opponent who would replace Gervonta Tank Davis with a month notice, right, to get ready for the fight, but still hold the weight of having a following, a fan base that would make this event as epic and as big as we want it to be. Because don't get it twisted, Netflix is not just here for boxing. They're here for the biggest spectacles boxing events they can put together. So the names got floated around, from Nate Diaz to Edgar Berlanga to Terrence Crawford to Ryan Garcia, and yes, Anthony Joshua. Oscar De La Hoya came out and debunked and took away that. By the way, I'm sure Ryan Garcia is looking at Oscar De La Hoya like, I love you, thank you, right, for keeping me out of potentially making $40+ million, because I'm hearing that Anthony Joshua may be on there for $80 million. I'm hearing a number around there, right? Is what I'm hearing you get. You got to think Ryan Garcia would have felt like he could have pulled a solid 40 out of that. And I don't think he has a fight on the table right now that he could pull 20 million out of, unless it's like Devin Haney, maybe, you know what I mean? But outside of that's another conversation. So who was he going to get to do it? Well, Anthony Joshua gets moved around, and a lot of people feel like, he's just trolling. He's just saying that just to have the boxing space say he's trying to make the biggest fights, because I'll be honest with you, I didn't think Anthony Joshua would do it for a little bit, right? I was like, is Anthony going to do that a month out? Doesn't Anthony a big enough star to where he feels like, I deserve a 3-month press conference, New York, LA, the whole big deal. Let's make this as big as possible to get the money. But then there was this other part in the back of my brain that said, you know what, though? Anthony Joshua, as big of a star as he is, he's very humble. And he actually believes in boxing, bro. He actually believes in, like, the challenges and all those different things. Like, he thinks like that. So I'm like, you know what? There's a lot of money on the table. Anthony might really do this. On top of that, Anthony Joshua, if you pay attention to his social media, has been working out a lot. He's been in Africa, running down the streets, kids chasing him around. Joshua Boombaye. I'm just making that up. I don't know what words they're saying, but I'm just saying that the other day he's been pushing himself and made it very clear that 2026 he's going to roll out 2026 and make another run at being a champion. So he's been training. He's in boxing shape. He's been sparring and getting himself together. And then I'm hearing rumors that he was playing an 8-rounder. He was planning an 8-round fight with a low heavyweight, like some, top 100 heavyweight. You know what I'm saying? That was there. So he was already preparing for a fight. So the stars line up, and Joshua calls Jake Bluff's play, in my opinion. I think Joshua's team called the bluff. And now Jake Paul's in a situation to where he's been preparing for months for a 5'3", 135-pound champion, getting himself together, sparring Shakur, sparring Keyshawn, sparring Raymond Ford, and now he's about to get in the ring with a 6'5" or whatever, 6'4". I don't know how tall Anthony Joshua is. 245-pound athletic Olympic gold medalist, former 2-time unified heavyweight champion of the world with one of the highest knockout ratios in the game, behind a Deontay Wilder at one point in time. Now, you got the Moses of Thomas and people who are stopping people, but still Anthony Joshua is one of the biggest punchers in the heavyweight division. And you have to ask yourself, is this an ideal situation for Jake Paul to be in at this point? Is this an ideal situation for him to be in? And why would he put himself in that position? Well, I think clearly there was pressure there for him to do something, to make something happen, because there was a lot on the line here. So we had to make a fight that was big enough to keep Netflix intrigued, right? To keep Netflix interested and dialed into making the fight happen. And here we are. Now, that being said, after that whole entire rant I just went on. Is Jake Paul finally in a fight that the boxing space can respect Jake Paul for challenging himself? Can we respect him enough, no matter what the circumstances is, as to why the fight got put together? Is this a fight for Jake Paul to prove to himself? And win or lose, do we have a different respect for Jake Paul than we did going into it?
I think absolutely. I think the other one was, and we all know it as a circus, a clown show. I think we just have to really take a moment of time and just think about the last time we seen a guy playing boxing, getting in the ring with Anthony Joshua. And he pretty much put that in our mindset. But we also have to remember Ngannou was 2 fights in, whereas Jake Paul has been boxing for quite some time. Regardless at what level it was, he's been boxing. He's putting the gloves on. He's laced them up. He's got the boots. Is he the fastest fighter? No. Is he the strongest fighter? No. Has he been a good combatant in the ring? Absolutely. So now this puts him on the mark of now making this fight happen. We wanted to see him tested. We wanted to see him in the ring with a real fighter, a current fighter. We are getting our wish. Win, lose, or draw. I doubt he wins. This is marketable for Jake Paul. This is actually putting him back in the limelight, in my opinion, and you have to give him his credit. I think he is a great promoter when it comes to boxing. Him and his team, Nikish and him, are doing a great job, especially for the American USA boxing circuit. You know what I mean? Women's boxing. So why not put our boy Jake Paul in a situation who single-handedly brought boxing back to the United States and put him in the ring with Anthony Joshua? Though people love to hate him, you got to like what he's doing for the sport. So you have to give him his credit where credit's due. And I think, yes, this is a good move for him.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's a good move, but what I mean by that is just health wise, right?
I know
like,
what you mean.
You might get hurt.
But I'm saying, factor.
What I'm saying is, though, man, as a boxing fan, you can't do nothing but respect this fight. I don't care what nobody says. You can say circus fight, whatever you want. And I know that the narrative is that Jake Paul is scripting these situations. I don't know, man. I say you got to take that with a grain of salt.
AJ ain't gonna do that shit.
Well, I just don't think he's been scripting fights. I don't subscribe to that. I know a lot of people feel that way. I don't believe he's been doing that. I believe now, if we're talking about cherry picking, stylistically picking fights where he's legitimately better than the opponents he's getting in the ring with on purpose, yes, I'll feed into that, right? But I would say and argue that all prospects coming up kind of have that same type of setup coming into their professional careers. But as far as like predetermined understandings happening between him and the fighter he's getting in the ring with, I really just don't subscribe to that. I think there's just too much of a consequence on the back end of that falling apart and getting caught and things leaking out, and there's jail time. There's real legitimate consequence behind that being proven, and I just don't know if you need to do that when all you have to do is put in tomato cans in the ring with you and get them out that way and not script them. Just have them go in there and do the best they can, which is limited, and take advantage of them and beat them. So in this fight with Anthony Joshua, I just don't see it being scripted. 10-ounce gloves, 8 rounds. Anthony Joshua at a 245-pound weight limit. This is going to be a dangerous Anthony Joshua getting in the ring with a Jake Paul who's probably going to come in somewhere around 225 to 230 plus pounds. We already know Jake Paul's already shown that his conditioning can be questionable at times. He comes in the ring at 230 pounds. He's probably going to be in one of the worst conditions of his whole entire boxing journey at this point, in front of a fighter in AJ. If you bring him in and force him to come in at 245, because I think his last couple of fights have been like 247, 250. If he comes in at 245, to me, that means that Anthony Joshua is going to be in great shape. You know what I mean? At 245, it means he's going to be in great shape. That's him lean, fast, athletic. That's 245 pounds is what that Anthony Joshua is. You know what I mean? In comparison to a 250, 252 Anthony Joshua, who's more like a bigger, power puncher coming down a little bit more lethargic, right? Then that 245 is like a on my toes Anthony Joshua, right? So this is a dangerous fight for Jake Paul. Now, I'm going to ask you another question. Is this particular fight good or bad for American boxing right now? Think about that.
Great question.
Because Jake
That
Paul,
is a great question. I'm already thinking because I'm like,
right?
yo,
Because Jake Paul is supposedly the face of American boxing, which
right.
is crazy. But he's the biggest earner out here. And here comes a foreigner in Anthony Joshua from England. Is this a good look for American boxing to have Jake Paul represent our space as the face of our space to fight Anthony Joshua?
So I'm going to put it like this. I don't want to answer the question as it would be good or bad based on our viewership as hardcore boxing fanatics. I'm more say like for the casual fan base, this is a good fight. This is good for the sport in the United States because we know that this is going to be broadcast. You know, people are going to tune in that are casuals, and this is where it sells. It's not so much of what sells for you and I or the people in this chat. It's what sells to the casual fans. Those people that watch ESPN that don't get to watch boxing much. The people sitting down at Buffalo Wild Wings and watching Jake Paul on Netflix Friday or Saturday night. It's for them. Yes, this is good in the sense of it's going to generate viewership in the sport. People will learn who Anthony Joshua is. They'll learn why Mike Tyson couldn't beat Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua could beat Jake Paul. Like it'll build so many questions outside of the sport of boxing, which we want. We want world recognition in the United States. We want that. As long as there's no injuries involved, I just don't see it not happening. But whatever. You choose to what is it? You make your bed, you lay in it. But yes, Clay, straight simple. I think it's good for the sport to the degree of the casual fan base. Now, here's the other end of that. I think for me as a boxing pundit, no. I don't like it. I think you shouldn't play with wolves in the wild, especially a pack of wolves. You shouldn't just keep feeding them meat and think you're going to walk away from them and not get attacked. It's a very dangerous game you're playing. I think when you put yourself in that position, we see the danger in this fight, and I know you believe and see the danger as a boxer or YouTube boxer, whatever the case may be. And the reason why you haven't taken any of these fights because you see that. So I think for us, it's like it hurts the sport. It hurts to see it. I think it's the same. I had the same results for when he called out Gervonta Tank Davis. I think it's like you went from one side of the bar to the other side of the bar with no play in the middle, and we've seen why you did that because the last time you played in the middle, which is what's our boy name? Cesar Jr.
Oh, Cesar, okay.
Right? What happened? You beat this guy up. You know what I mean? You got this guy up out of there who was a former boxer that was still registered as a boxer. And
you didn't get him out of there, but you won, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? No, I'm saying when I say got him out of there, like he cooked him. Like he didn't lose that fight.
Right.
But it just doesn't sell to us. So I think this on our part, but for the American fan base, it does sell. I think it does help the sport in the States.
Yeah. Well, I think selling and good for the sport doesn't necessarily always land on the same algorithm or on the same page, right? Selling is good, I guess. It sells, but it also branding is part of it. And if it sells a certain way, it's going to become that means that it's also becoming a branding to a certain degree. Now, I think that the fact that Jake Paul represents American boxing as a face of American boxing, I just don't like that at all, right? I want that to go away. So there's a large part of me that is very much rooting for Anthony Joshua to knock Jake Paul out, and get it together and understand that is not the face of boxing. So we can end this this delusional propaganda train that's been going on behind this kid, and the real faces of boxing, the real future of the sport can start getting the light that they deserve. Now, I think it's great for boxing to a certain degree because I think what it's going to do is going to build up a demand for boxing on Netflix, right? Mm-hmm. And Netflix being one of the biggest networks you can be involved with, we want Netflix interested in boxing. We want Netflix looking at boxing as something profitable to get into and something that does well on their platform. So a fight like this, I think, is going to break numbers. I think this fight is probably going to sell more, or should I say have more viewership than even Canelo Terrence. I'm going to be real with you. I think this fight is going to be a huge fight. I also think that Netflix benefits in a great way because I think the international boxing space is going to embrace the living shit out of this fight. And I think they're going to get I don't know how many more subscribers just to watch this fight of people who may have not got Netflix in, let's say, in Ireland or in England or in India or somewhere where maybe they're not. Maybe they're a bunch of Tubi people out there. Maybe they're operating on their own streaming platforms out there, and they like to watch their movies and their sports entertainments through things like the DAZN app and things of that nature. Well, these fighters are going to have to come. These fight fans are going to have to come to Netflix to see this, and it's not going to be about buying a pay-per-view. It's going to be about making a subscription. That is going to enhance and make Netflix's network even bigger for boxing, right? Because now you'll have boxing fans with memberships and subscriptions in Netflix, and now Netflix continues their campaign to be one of the biggest platforms to show boxing on. So I think that's good. So in two ways: A, keep Netflix intrigued. Keep the biggest network right now, streaming network out there right now, interested in boxing and trying to get involved in the biggest fights in boxing. And B, also, I think I think boxing benefits off of debunking and derailing Jake Paul.
Absolutely.
To get him off of the throne as a face of boxing. He can still participate after being derailed or dethroned, whatever you want to call it. He can still participate in the sport and compete and be that guy. But at the end of the day, I think the real fighters need an opportunity to be. You want a real fighter to be the face of boxing. You want a Terrence Crawford to legitimately be the face of boxing. And I think it's disgusting that the world speaks on and regards Jake Paul as the face of American boxing. I think it's crazy. I think real boxing fans know that's far from the truth. That is not the truth at all. But men lie, women lie, numbers don't. And he does do what he do as far as money is concerned, as far as viewership is concerned. So yeah, man, if it has to be a UK heavyweight 2-time unified champion that has to come and do it, then so be it. I'll go on the record and say I don't think this is what Jake Paul wanted. I don't give a damn what they're saying. I don't believe that. I'm sorry. And definitely not with a month's notice. If you were going to want it, I would think you'd want a full camp. You want to get as strong as you can. You want your conditioning to be on point, and you would not want to be as ill prepared as it looks like Jake Paul is going to be going into this fight.
Right.
Right.
I'm just going to say this too. I think this sets up the Deontay Wilder fight for AJ.
Nah, AJ's going to Tyson Fury. Maybe Wilder. Who knows?
I think it sets it up. I think this is like I think that Tyson Fury fight does happen. We obviously heard Turkey Al-Sheikh speaking on it with the great idea from Jason Statham in the fight. So I think that happens. I also see that Wilder fight happening at the end of next year. I think that's just like to close all the doors, all the chapters. And I think it makes sense. You know what I mean? Like right now, this is just a little tune-up to get back into acclimated into boxing. You're setting up that Tyson Fury fight for early 2026. Then we fall into next year with that Wilder fight. If Wilder gets past his next fight, because I believe he has a fight coming up as well next year.
I'm hearing rumors of him and Andy Ruiz potentially finally doing it, or him. Yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, anything is possible. I'm not gonna lie though, but I just don't think so. I think AJ's in a complete different conversation as Deontay, and I think he needs to do something significant.
Listen, it's a little too late for the fight, but I think that's a fan fight. You know what I mean? Like all the people that fell in love with boxing, they all know these fighters, and I think Netflix would love to make money off this. Who's better to promote it than a Jake Paul to put this fight together, especially on a great card?
Yeah, I don't see it. I don't think even Jake
Paul. Even if Turkey were to, but I'm just saying, it brings that American boxing thing, Clay. Like we got to look at what it is ultimately. It brings that back into a whole playing field. And I think
but it's not about American boxing if it's Anthony Joshua, because he's
no, I'm talking about Deontay Wilder.
Yeah, but
I know.
You're saying that about Deontay Wilder, but the conversation is interest from Anthony Joshua, caring of Turkey Al-Sheikh, right? They're looking at, I'm going to tell you straight up, Daniel Dubois, Tyson Fury. Those are the two fights that Anthony Joshua want to make happen. Those are big for the UK. That's 90,000. He wants his fight to be in Wembley, 90,000 plus people. He wants a big payday from Turkey Al-Sheikh. He wants redemption from Daniel Dubois, and he wants to set the record straight with Tyson Fury. I don't think Deontay Wilder is even in the conversation when it comes to Anthony Joshua. And I'll be real, as a fan of boxing, I'm way more interested in those fights than I am in Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua. So I can only imagine what the UK in the international space is thinking about those fights, right? Deontay Wilder would have to be willing to come to Wembley. And I don't even think Netflix wants to get into a bidding war with Turkey Al-Sheikh. I don't think that's something they're interested in doing.
Well, I think they'll work together on it. I mean, we already.
But Turkey's not going to fold and work together on putting Deontay Wilder in America against Anthony Joshua, to put Anthony Joshua in the backyard of Deontay Wilder, when Anthony Joshua knows I can make just as much money. And let's be real, I'm going to make way more money. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, when you put it that way, you know what I mean? Yes. I just think that there's just a lot of doors that's not closed. And when
it's not closed, but I'm just saying the likeliness. I just feel like Deontay Wilder is an odd man out. Like his trajectory since he lost against Joseph Parker has been and he goes from Joseph Parker to a horrible performance, looking like less than an amateur in there with Joseph Parker. Then he gets annihilated by Zhilei Zhang doing a Michael Jackson spinneroonie. Then he goes on a hiatus. Then he goes on a hiatus, and then he comes back and he gives a subpar performance. He stops the guy, but a subpar performance against a guy I don't even know his name right now at the moment to tell you his name.
Bro, I don't know his name either.
Exactly. And then he's on another hiatus, and he's almost not even considered. I'm gonna be real with you. I think there's so many more fights that are more interesting and worth the money from somebody who's investing on putting a big event than Deontay. I don't even think Deontay Wilder has an American fan base like he did before. I think the fan base has moved on from him to a certain degree. Yeah, he's just not relevant.
He still has the thugs out there. You know what I mean?
Thugs ain't enough, bro. Thugs don't do. There's not 90,000 plus thugs in the world to fill up an arena for Deontay Wilder. There's not even 50,000.
I ultimately, and I don't call them thugs. I shouldn't be doing that. That's disrespectful. I'm just being funny. You know what I mean? It's a little pun. But I really believe, Clay, deep down inside, that fight is something that us American boxing fans would love to see. You're
right. You're 100% right. You're not wrong on that. The thing about American boxing fans is, are American boxing fans putting 70,000 asses in seats to see Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder?
No, it would have to happen overseas. Obviously, Riyadh season, of course.
Okay, so how are we talking about an American fan base helping an event be big and the fight is across the ocean?
Wilder name attached to it, I think, will help. I just believe so for Americans, especially if he's like, co-maining or whatever the case may be. Especially if it's, like I said, if we get somebody on that card that's of the significance of a heavyweight, and maybe it'd be a Usyk and Wardley or something like that, or.
Oh yeah, and that's more news also. But let's keep it moving quick. I got to land the plane. I got to get out of here.
That's all I got.
I want to go ahead and salute to Coach Marcus Walker. Yo, Coach, where can we watch King Cam fight? Did you ever get that information? I don't know if you want to put that in here, or I really would love to see that fight. You know what I'm saying?
There's a stream network that
and it's ATP, Coach. ATP is in
at this boxing.
At this point, it's not at this boxing. At this point, Combat Media. But salute to you. We appreciate the support. Thank you for the color in the chat. If you could put inside the chat, if you're still in the building, to let us know where you can catch that fight. Shout out to King Cam 7-0. He's fighting this weekend in Miami, I believe it is.
Okay.
I'm still trying to figure out how to watch that fight. So
I'll tell you right now,
if you could put that information on there, I'd appreciate it. Thank you, Coach Coach Marcus. Appreciate you being in the building. Thank you. And other information and the last bit of news that just came out. So I don't want to say I predicted this.
You did.
Maybe I did, and maybe I can't remember. I pretty much kept it 100 and told y'all Usyk ain't fighting no time soon. Usyk decides to vacate the WBO title. Fabio Wardley becomes elevated to be a champion. I think what's interesting about this and what people need to look at is Joseph Parker is potentially about to be suspended and banned for popping for cocaine. So he's not in the conversation anymore, because I would think the legit fight would be a rematch with Joseph Parker, and now for an actual WBO title in a fight that was contested by the fan base, who felt like that the stoppage was a bit premature and that Joseph Parker was ahead on the cards up until that point. That would have been the fight that made more sense. But at the end of the day, that doesn't seem like it's going to be as realistic anymore. I'm going to tell you guys what to keep an eye on, but they would have to figure it out. They would have to figure this out. But Moses Atalma, after this Jamaican Franklin fight, he is number 1 on the WBO rankings. So now they both have a common denominator in Coach Ben Davidson. This is an interesting, complicated situation to have 2 fighters that you're formerly training be in the same sanctioning body, and one of them has just been elevated to a full champion. But does Moses Atalma shy away from an opportunity to become a champion just because Fabio Wardley's a stablemate? Ugh, that's an ugly situation to be in. Hate to be Ben Davidson in this conversation, but more so, we can talk about that in another show, another time. But salute to Fabio Wardley, the new WBO heavyweight champion of the world. We'll see what his next move is going to be. Maybe he'll do a quick little title defense. Fabio Wardley's story is very interesting. No amateur career, not an Olympian. Started boxing very late in his career, rugby player, considered to be a domestic heavyweight fighter. They thought it was going to be interesting just to see him pick up a domestic title in the UK and for him to end up on the whole international stage as a world champion under the circumstances and the way that he did it is crazy. It really is. There's an argument there to say that he doesn't even belong in that position, that, you know, just the whole way everything moves for him and put him in that position, taking away Joseph Parker's opportunity to become an undisputed champion and fight Alexander Usyk, and then Usyk being like, I'll fight him. And there's so many ways to look at this, but with Alexander Usyk vacating that WBO title fight to wait it out a little bit, I think there's also an argument for myself. I could speculate into the area to say that Usyk didn't want to fight Fabio, because I'm telling you, chaos is an interesting intangible, and Fabio brings chaos, and he struggled with Derek Chisora. So Derek Chisora gave Usyk all he could handle, and Fabio Wardley is a younger, more determined, more motivated Derek Chisora. You know what I'm saying? Right. So I'm sure Usyk was like, if I do fight him, I'm going to do it later. I don't feel like even preparing for that right now. He likes the fundamentally sound fighters. He likes the boxers. He doesn't mind if you're punching a lot, but he doesn't want the chaos. What we asked Daniel Dubois to bring to Alexander Usyk is what Fabio would bring to him, right? We wanted Daniel not to be the boxer. We wanted him to bring pressure, swing, go for it, break this dude. He didn't do that. He tried to box and got exposed and got frustrated. Fabio would bring that chaos. So that's an interesting situation, but congratulations, Fabio Wardley. It is what it is, man. Let me see here. It says, Coach Marcus will find and text you the link. No doubt. All right.
I think it's tough enough or something like that.
Yeah, but where can we see it?
I think they have a stream. I think they stream it on YouTube, and they also stream, because I think that's where Jasabi at. I could be wrong. Oh, shout out to ATP.
It's all good, Coach. Yeah, it's all good, Coach. For sure, man. Salute, Coach.
Yeah, so it says, I appreciate it. I mean, I'm looking. It also says it might be, I'm looking at it on Twitter. It says live on OnlyFans, so it could be exclusive to OnlyFans too. So
yeah, I'm gonna try to watch it, man. But definitely supporting King Cam. Can't wait for King Cam to get on on these bigger platforms where we can see him fight. You know, I mean, he's only 7-0 though, bro. Like, so he's just young in his career. He's doing his thing. He's undefeated. He has time. You know what I'm saying? But I'd definitely love to watch it. If I could watch it, I'll be honest with you, I'd cover it. I'd call the fight. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Salute to everybody in the building. It's about that time, man. I appreciate everybody, man. Until the next one. On the next show, we'll be discussing we'll be diving into Bam Rodriguez versus Puma, and we'll be diving obviously into Devin Haney versus Brian Norman Jr. as well, and getting ready for it. We'll look at the weigh-ins. I'm looking forward to the weigh-ins on Friday as well, trying to see what Devin looks like in particular. I want to see what Brian Norman does too, as rumors are circulating that he potentially was struggling with some weight cuts. I don't believe that's the case at all, but I definitely, it does make it intriguing. I want to see what he looks like on the scale. And I'll give my decisions and my picks, right? I haven't given my picks yet, not even on the Abdullah Mason, Sam Noakes, or the David Benavidez and Anthony Yard fight. I'll give those picks out on Friday. I'll give all the picks out on Friday to what I think is going to happen on those cards, man.
Brother.
You know what I mean? It is what it is, man.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean?
You know what I mean?
And I mean, yeah, man, at the end of the day, Clay, it's going to be good. This is a great week for boxing. Matter of fact, it's a great summer for boxing, end of the year for boxing. A great year altogether, bro.
It's been a great year. We're gonna look back and I can't wait for the New Year's show. I can't wait for the best of show
and we need
that
to
we do every year
before the end of the year.
where we go for the knockouts of the years and the fight of the years and the rounds of the years and the, you know what I mean? You guys keep it in your mind, bro. But Lester Martinez, Christian and Billy is definitely a fight of the year candidate, bro.
Right.
Straight up. That was a big one. But there's other ones too, without a doubt. There's some big fights that happened this year, man. So, well, I mean, you got the obvious ones, and you know, Canelo and Terrence, right? And potentially one of these fights or multiple fights on this card are going to check the box. I mean, even the Bohachuk Brandon Adams fight was a great fight. You know what I'm saying? So we got fights to talk about. Anyway, it is what it is. It's that ATP Combat Media, man. Salute to everybody in the building, man. I appreciate you guys. Thank you guys in advance. Please hit the subscribe button if you haven't done it. Helps the channel out. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, take a moment and go ahead and do that. Until the next one, it's your boy Clay, it's your boy Ray, it's that ATP Combat Media Show. And at this point, we're out.
They hated, they never believe me. Yeah, I would never drop the ball. I know I make it look easy. Yeah, Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic got to say. I got them picking up the pieces. That mean you really playing with your life. I'm about to come and run it all back. I'm the new era, about to snap back. You ain't fitting for it, cause you all cap like. Hold up, I shoot my shot. Wait, hold up. I'm really about to run this go up. You know it's all net when it go up.